Okay, we'll call to order the City of Beaumont City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 3rd. And call to order at 5:01.
I'll do roll call if you're ready.
Okay.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember Roscoe is absent. Councilmember Lara?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll is absent at the moment. And Mayor White?
Here. So you want to go over the agenda for closed session?
Yes, the council's meeting in closed session. Item 2 is conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. City of Beaumont versus Joseph Aklufi et al., Riverside County Court Case Number. Actually, it should say Superior Court Case Number, RIC 1712036. 3, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. There are 5 cases. It's the Hupp versus City of Beaumont cases. And the case numbers are 5:14 CV 01301 01303 VAP SP, and then the next one is 02560, and the next one is ED CV 16-00370, and 608 BK 23006-BB. I'm sorry. I read the last number wrong. The last case number is RIC 1515215. The number 4 is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, 2, and/or 3 regarding potential litigation. Legal proceedings by the Preserve LLC to enforce the stay in the Preserve LLC Chapter 11 case number 6:08-BK-23006-BB, one potential case. Number 5, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Keith Walker versus City of Beaumont Police Department et al., EDC V 17-1687-AG 161167. Number 6, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, U.S. Bank National Association versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1717498. Number 7, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, AC Equipment versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1714429. Number 8, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The real property is APN 418-190-004, APN 418-190-005, and also 006 and 007. The agency negotiator is the city manager, Todd Parton. The negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont as potential seller, and Khalid Hashmi or Mark Sandoval as potential buyers, under negotiation, price, and terms of sale. Number 9, public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1. Employee title, city manager, and that's it.
And we have no one for public comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn to closed session at 5:05. The meeting back to order at 6:30. So we're ready to go ahead and take roll call.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember Roscoe is absent. Councilmember Lara?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Here.
Mayor White?
Here. And report out from closed session.
Yes. Item 2 was conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, City of Beaumont versus Joseph Aklufi et al., Riverside County Superior Court case number RIC 1712036, and there was reportable action taken on that item. And just a little bit of background. The city has a civil lawsuit that it's filed against Mr. Cluffe and his law firm. He's the former city attorney for the city of Beaumont. And so we have that civil case pending, but Mr. Cluffe is also a defendant in a criminal case. He has a Fifth Amendment right not to testify or incriminate himself in the city's pending civil case. As a result, the city will not be able to conduct or complete thorough discovery to prepare its civil case against Mr. Cluffe and his law firm, as he'll be entitled to plead the Fifth Amendment when his deposition is taken and other discovery is conducted. As such, the parties in the civil case have the option to stay the civil action until completion of the criminal case against Mr. Cluffe or further order of the court. And so there was action taken in closed session on that. And the action was to stay the city's pending civil action until the criminal case against Mr. Cluffe is completed or until there is further order of the court. And the motion was made to stay the action, as I just stated, by Mr. Laura, and there was a second by Mr. Martinez, and the vote was Mr. Laura, yes, Martinez, yes, Mayor White, yes, and Vice Mayor Carroll, yes. The number 3 on the closed session agenda was conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. 5 cases: Paul Hupp versus City of Beaumont et al. Case number 514CV01303, VAP SP, Paul Hupp versus Hubs, City of Beaumont. Case number 514CV02560, VAP SP, Artesia Hupp versus Solera Oak Valley Green Association et al. Case number ED CV1600370, Artesia Hupp versus Solera Oak Valley Green Association et al. Case number RIC 1515215. There was no reportable action taken on that item. Number 5 in closed session was conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. Keith Walker versus City of Beaumont Police Department et al. Case number EDCV 171687 AG JC 161167. And there was reportable action on that case, and there was a motion by Mayor White to defend the case, second by Councilmember Laura, and the vote was Mayor White, yes, Councilmember Laura, yes, Vice Mayor Carroll, yes, and Councilmember Martinez, yes. Item 6 was conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, U.S. Bank National Association versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1717498. There was no reportable action on that item. Number 7, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, AC Equipment versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1714429, and there was reportable action on that item. And the reportable action was there was a motion to defend the case. The first was made by Mayor White, the second by Councilmember Laura, and the vote was Mayor White, yes, Councilmember Laura, yes, Vice Mayor Carroll, yes, and Councilmember Martinez, yes. Number 8 was conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Real property APN numbers are 418-190-004, 418-190-005, 418-190-006, and 418-190-007. And the agency negotiator, city manager Todd Parton, the negotiating party, city of Beaumont as potential seller, and Khalid Hashmi or Mark Sandoval as potential buyers under negotiation price and terms of sale. There was no reportable action taken on that item. And then the last item, item 9, was public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, employee title, city manager, and there was no reportable action taken on that item.
Mr. Pinckney, I think you skipped number 4.
Oh, I did. Okay, I apologize for that. Number 4 was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, 2, and/or 3 regarding potential litigation, legal proceedings by the Preserve LLC to enforce the stay in the Preserve LLC Chapter 11 case. The case number is 608BK23006BB. One potential case. There was no reportable action on that matter.
Thank you. And we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Carroll, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we don't have anyone here for the application. Mr. Laura, did you want to say something?
Could y'all remain standing, please? All right. Can we just take a moment of silence for those lives that were lost tragically in Las Vegas and for those lives that will be affected forever? Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, conflict of interest disclosure on item number 21 is reimbursement of my travel expenses to the League of Cities. I'm going to be recusing myself from that one. Are there any other conflict of interest?
I just have a question. Mr. Pinckney, for consent item number 10, again, can you remind me, since that involves my employer, if that's necessary to recuse myself on that item?
So under the conflict rules, where the source of income is from a public agency or a public employer, that does not qualify as a financial interest. So it doesn't create a conflict when your employer is a public agency.
So not necessary.
Okay.
Mayor, there's an adjustment I'd like to make to the agenda.
Oh, I'm
Can
sorry.
can I just add to that?
Sure.
That if you know, the other option that you have when you have a consent calendar is if you don't want to vote on something that's on the consent calendar, you can just state that I'm recusing myself as to item X, and then I'm voting as to the other items.
So if we're not discussing it, we don't need to pull it off, and he doesn't need to leave.
If it's a legal conflict, my recommendation is to pull it and then have them recuse
Oh, I see.
themselves and
Okay.
leave.
Okay.
But if it's just something that you want to avoid the appearance of impropriety because it's your employer, you could just recuse yourself as to that item.
Okay, but not necessary, though, if it's not.
Okay, so Mr. Lara.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if possible, with consensus of the council, I'd like to continue item 17 to next council meeting. I just need some additional time to review that, and I've got some questions.
Is there anyone who has objection to that?
Action 17?
Yeah.
Has to do with the approval and the planning, and the new fees.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll table that for the next council meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have some announcements, recognitions, proclamations. So I have a proclamation to read here for Manufacturing Day. Whereas the City of Beaumont works for its business community by progressively providing the highest quality of life in an environment where businesses can thrive, and whereas Manufacturing Day is a celebration of modern manufacturing mean to inspire the next generation of manufacturers, and whereas the City of Beaumont is working in partnership with the U.S. Department of Commerce, International Trade Administration, and U.S. Commercial Service to encourage and expand exploring for local manufacturing businesses, and whereas the City of Beaumont is also working in partnership with the California Manufacturing Technology Consulting, a nonprofit technical consulting organization dedicated to encouraging the growth of manufacturing in California through operational advancements, certifications, training, and the expansion of exploring. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Lloyd White, on behalf of the City of Beaumont, do hereby proclaim October 3rd as Manufacturing Day in the City of Beaumont to help the manufacturing businesses grow and make a difference in our community. Presented this third day of October 2017. I feel like there should be a round of applause or something, but
Maybe you could do the robot for us.
no, I don't think so. We'll move on to community services presentation. I think that's Bob, Mr. Sherwood.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We'd like to just give you a quarterly update, or actually this will be a yearly update of what the Community Service Department's been up to. So sit back, relax. It's only a 30-minute presentation.
Great.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you or myself. Just basically a real quick update on the Building Grounds Maintenance Department. Citywide weed abatement is still continuing. It's nice to get all the rain. It's nice to get all that weather out there, but it's now made weed abatement happen 4 different times this year. And we're probably going to be heading to number 5. We've started the cleaning out of all city drains. We are going to start preparing for the winter season. We started filling the sandbags at the city yard. This is normally when we do it. We get everything taken care of in the month of October. Tree trimming has started citywide. Charo Avenue trees have been thinned out. Palm Island trees did go out for bid, so they will start trimming next week. So you may hear a few phone calls, but we have to thin them out, or the Santa Ana winds could relocate them for us. So we've got to thin out the Palm Islands. It's been about 3 years, so they're pretty large trees out there. Three Rings Ranch and the Oakview Drive. City crew is going to start lifting those trees next week. We're having some issues on Oakview Drive, and looks like we're able to get CAL FIRE out there on October 16th to help us lift the pepper trees. So providing there's no major problems, CAL FIRE will assist us on Oakview Drive, so that should get that street done a whole lot quicker. Buildings are starting to get their much needed cleaning inside and out. That's when we do it. When the rainy season, the weather comes up, we get the crews inside. Along with the stuff they're doing outside. Pool facility has been boarded up. All the pumps are reset to run half the time. And that's kind of what we're up to, minus or including all their extra work at this time. So just kind of give you that. This time I want to introduce Eileen Rodriguez from the Community Rec Center. She's got a couple things to say in her presentation, and then Heather and Lily have a real quick.
Good evening, Council and Mayor, and everybody else up here. I'm short, sorry. Just an update at the Community Rec Center and the Senior Services. We had a flu shot clinic a couple weeks ago, and it's barely picking it up because we've only done it a couple years now. Last year was really bad. This year we had like 20-some plus come in of our seniors. And we also had AMR there that they were presenting a CPR 2-minute class for whoever wanted to learn CPR real quick. And we had about 30 people come in, and they, learned, which was good. So a lot of our seniors are up to date on that, and they got to learn CPR also. Our Fit After 50 class has grown again, which I'm very proud of. We have about 60 plus members in our Fit After 50 class, and we keep getting at least 3 to 5 monthly new ones coming in. So that's good. And that class is actually amazing for our seniors. On Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we started pickleball. We had some Solera residents coming in, and it kind of dwindled because they have one over there also. So when it gets rainy, they'll start coming in more. But we do have a couple that come in, and they have actually started a class with the Past Resource Center. Some of the clients that are there, they'll bus them over to the CRC, and they'll teach them how to play pickleball, and they really enjoy it. I think there was an article in the Record Gazette this past Friday, and some of the clients there spoke about the pickleball and how happy they were to be able to do that over there. So that's nice. Our Cool Center for the summer was up and running from 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. And we had puzzles, TV, games, snacks, water for whoever wanted to come in during that time. And we did get people that would come in there, so it was nice. Kept me company. I'm currently working on getting more activities in the senior center, yoga classes, maybe another dance class or something for the seniors. That would be nice. We do have other exercise classes and a chair yoga and Tai Chi and stuff like that over there at the senior center for our seniors or whoever wants to join. Front counter area is staffed by me in the morning for an hour or two, and then Heather comes in. She takes over between our lunches, between her, me, and Lily. We all get together and we switch off and do the front counter part. And that's usually Monday through Fridays, or Monday through Thursdays from 8 to 5, and then Fridays from 8 to noon. So that's pretty much what's going on in the senior center. I do have an award for one of our seniors, volunteers. Patty, can you come up, please? She's shy. I'd like to recognize one of our senior volunteers, Patty Stewart. She's been with us for about 6 years. Let's see, she has spent so much of her time here in our office. I would probably say about 8,500 hours between 6 years that she's been with us. She's either there Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 times a week. And she stays like 4 or 5 hours. When she's not there at the senior center, she's helping other seniors within the community. She'll go visit them at their home if they need something, if they need to go somewhere, even just to take them to lunch. She'll go to different healthcare centers here in town for the seniors, and she'll keep them company. She was telling me today, tomorrow she gets to take a senior couple that are dating on a lunch date and a dinner date. Okay. And I think it's so cute. I mean, she does so much for this community and for me. She's my right-hand woman. Everything that I know there, she pretty much knows. So when I'm not there, I know it's in good hands because she knows everything. And I wanted to recognize Patty for all her commitment to us and to show her how much we do appreciate you and how much we love you. With our deepest appreciation, we hereby honor Patty Stewart in recognition for your unconditional commitment and enduring dedication, service to our seniors and the city of Beaumont.
Hey, Patty.
She's awesome. Okay, so that is everything that I have to say. As you can see, I'm not shy, so speaking in front of anybody. So I'm gonna let you guys have my sidekick, Heather.
Before you do that, a quick
Yes.
question. The Tai Chi classes, are those, is there a cost for seniors for those kinds of
There is
classes?
a cost. I think it's like, was it $5 or $10 a month, something like that, $20 a month.
And how often do they meet?
They're there every Friday from 10 to 11.
Okay. All right, thank
And
you.
we do have a steady class that comes all the time.
Okay.
So it's nice. Okay, so I'm going to bring up Heather Harwood.
Hi, everybody. Most of you know me. I'm Heather. I want to just go over a couple special events we have coming up. Our Monster Mash is going to be October 21st from 4 to 8 at the Chatney Center. The library is co-hosting with us, so that's exciting. It's kind of the first thing we're like doing together, so this is going to be awesome. The community is invited to come play games, win candy, make crafts, get a free pumpkin, thanks to Stater Brothers and Walmart. jump and bounce houses, and we're going to have a costume contest as well. So that's October 21st. Our Thanksgiving outreach is on Thanksgiving Day, November 23rd. From 8 to 12, the staff comes in, we cook the meal, and then we deliver it out with the help of you guys. I know always help with that. So we're going to do that. That's homebound seniors that we deliver to in the Beaumont Cherry Valley area. So if you guys know of a homebound senior that needs a meal, let us know. Christmas Light Parade, December 9th, 6 p.m. on Palm. After the parade, the awards will be given inside here in the Civic Center. We're also going to have a holiday craft extravaganza. We just came up with that today, so we're gonna do that too. So we'll have vendors inside here that people can come in and buy stuff. Quick rundown on field usage real quick. Leagues are using all of the parks in Beaumont right now. Current head count for each league. Rugby, the adults are 40 plus adults, and the kids, they have 80 plus kids playing rugby. The Beaumont Bombers is what they're called. AYSO has 1,100 kids this fall playing soccer, and they had 350 for spring. Junior All-American, that's the football and the cheerleading. They have 160 kids registered for football. They have 82 cheerleaders, and they have 35 kids playing flag football. And then the men's soccer league, that is out at the sports park every Sunday. They have between 80 and 90 men playing on their league. So fields are going. So there's a lot of people out there using up that field, so that's awesome. I want to introduce to you real quick the current Beaumont, Miss Beaumont Queen and Court. They just competed last May, and these are our winners, and they're going to be doing events all year round with me. I take them to all their events, and so I'm going to let them actually just introduce themselves. We're missing one of our princesses, Juliet Penna. She's also a cheerleader, so she's at practice right now. These are the other three, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good evening, I'm Princess Elizabeth Everett.
Hi, I'm Princess Emma Valdivia.
Good evening, I am proudly representing Beaumont as Miss Beaumont Queen. I am Melissa Duncan.
Thank you.
And that's all my updates. I want to introduce to you our newest hire for the Community Service Department, Recreation Specialist Lead, Lillian Everett.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Lillian, and I'm going to update you guys on what the pool. I was there this summer, managing the pool. I was also there last summer, and I've seen a big difference. So for last year, the pool approximately daily public use was last year was up from last year than it was from this year during the weekends and the weekday. And then swim lessons, we did 8 weeks of swim lessons with 4 sessions a day, 15 students per class. We taught around 400 students how to swim this summer. Hopefully next summer we can add an adult class. I had a lot of people asking me, hey, I don't know how to swim. You're teaching my kid how to swim, but I don't know how to swim. So that's, that's something we're gonna try to work into. Day camp. Mondays we do movies with the day camp kids. We watch different movies, PG movies with the kids, have trivia before every single movie to see if they know something about the movie or not. It's usually like a silly question and they'll win a prize, either a popsicle stick or something that we have there. Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, we utilize the gym playing games, hula hoops, dancing, basketball, soccer, and once a month we put an obstacle course in the gym for the students to play, and all the students are involved, all the kids, we play, and sometimes they're like, we want to do it again, and I'm like, no, this is just once, okay. So, and then on Wednesdays, we break into 3 different groups. One group is arts and crafts, the second group is homework and computer, and the third group is playing board games with the day camp leader or playing outside, whether it be tag or just drawing chalk on the floor, whatever the day is, if it's not nice outside. And then also with Eileen, she taught the seniors a CPR class. We also had a CPR class that they came in, and they taught about 50 students in how to do CPR, which is great because a lot of the parents were, I'm so glad that they do, because we have little kids at home, and I don't think they would ever know how to do that if they wouldn't have brought them to teach them, which was amazing, and we all had a lot of fun. So. And last but not least, I also have a recognition award for Donna Nelson. She has been volunteering for us for the past few years in our day camp. Donna's always helping us. She comes to day camp every single day for a few hours, whether it be hot outside in the pool days and she's still there, or when it's cold and rainy, she's always there to assist the kids, talk to the kids. She's coloring. When we're dancing, she's dancing also. So that's always great. So I want to recognize Donna Nelson for her outstanding work that she's done all these years for us. I mean, it's all the kids always call her, "Oh, it's the grandma coming today?" And I'm like, "Yes." So Donna, thank you so much. And here's You Make a Difference certificate of appreciation to Donna, the grateful recognition of your valuable contribution to the city of Beaumont. That all the kids signed and took a picture. Remember the other day? I was like, stand in the picture. You're like, okay. There you are. And these are great. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And, excuse me, you also have the same last name as one of the princesses, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think we have one more recognition. First of all, Bob, I really like that update. I think it was well done, and it does get us very acclimated with where you are. So you're going to keep doing that with other departments? Great. Thanks. Next, Chief, you have someone to present to us.
And just real quick, to add to Donna's legacy, Donna's been a CVP with the Beaumont Police Department for many years and has contributed thousands of hours in uniform as well to the community. Just want to throw that in for as well. No, I didn't want to call you up again, but Officer Chaparosa. And so we're always excited to present new police officers. We're looking for talented, dedicated professionals. We are blessed that we find them. We're always excited when they're local. And so Angela Chaparosa, she has attended Beaumont High School. She played softball, ran cross country. So everybody that wants to run from us, beware. She played 3 years of varsity basketball. Actually, during her junior year, she was part of the People-to-People Student Ambassador Program. So she went to Australia, where she played in international basketball tournaments, not only in Australia, but in New Zealand as well. She's currently working on her bachelor's degree in pursuit of her higher education, which we always encourage. She comes to us with 4.5 years of experience with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. She has experience in the correctional setting and then patrol at the thermal station. So our hot days will be nothing, for her out here. She has experience working as a DARE officer and a victim advocate with the Los Coyotes Police Department on the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation, and then a very unique experience working at Patton State Hospital Police Department, working with the mentally ill patients there. So Angela and her wife Catherine reside in Beaumont and are major sports fans. And so I present to you Officer Chaparosa.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, we'll move on to the public comment period. Do we have any public comments? Okay, we'll open public comments at 6:59. Any one person may address the city council on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back table and give to the city clerk. There's a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There'll be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments.
First speaker, Judy Bingham.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. I had put in another public comment on the report out of closed session, and I believe I'm able to speak on that. And I also want to speak on public comment.
Mrs. Bingham, we'll give you 3 minutes for each item.
For each item?
Sure.
Pinckney's first order of business was to remove the lawsuits from the city council agenda. At the September 19th meeting, just the last session we had, Mayor Lloyd White asked how he could get information about the city's lawsuits. Pinckney claims there are no laws forcing the disclosure of liabilities. The SEC cease and desist order specifically states that Section 17A2 of the Securities Act makes it unlawful to obtain money or property by means of any untrue statement of material fact or any omission to state a material fact necessary in order to make the statements made in light of the circumstances under which they were made not misleading. Not only did Pinckney remove the lawsuits from the Beaumont City Council agendas, he also committed fraud on the city's 2015 financial statements by not listing the liabilities as required by federal financial accounting standards. A sample lawsuit and claim status report was provided to the city of San Clemente by the law firm of Slovic, Barron, Impey, Murphy, Pinckney, with 7 columns and detailed explanation of each claim, so the law firm would disclose lawsuits to other clients, but not to the city of Beaumont, I suppose. Okay, now I'll move on to my regular public comment. On the September 19th, 2017 Beaumont City Council meeting, City Attorney John Pinckney stated, "When Judy Bingham makes statements that are inaccurate, I think it is appropriate to call it out, and frequently the comments made are intertwined with both accurate and inaccurate and false statements. So I think it is appropriate to point out that when inaccurate information, when inaccurate information is provided to the council. Mr. Pinckney, don't you ever call me a liar again. It is your law firm.
Ms. Bingham, please direct your comments to me.
It is his law firm that has conned the taxpayers of Beaumont out of almost $2 million. I really don't appreciate it. I've taken enough abuse out of this city. I have been called an activist, and I didn't know I was, but why am I an activist? Because since 2004, I knew there had to be changes in Beaumont's government. 2 years since the raids, and council still allows Pinckney and Parton to lie to the people and the taxpayers, as evidenced at that last meeting. Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers?
Yes.
Okay.
David Castaldo.
Good evening, council members. When I was a little kid, my mother always tried to feed me liver, and I hate liver. And there's only one other thing that I don't like more than liver, and that was filing lawsuits. I never wanted to file a lawsuit against a city I love. I like to settle this whole thing, that that has been holding over my head for the last 12 years. At the time, in April of 2005, Mayor Dressel signed an agreement with me. The city has not upheld that agreement since 2005. The agreement was very simple. The title of my property that I bought through the RDA was put in our corporation name. All I wanted to do at that time was have the name changed from AC Equipment to my wife's and my name. That was part of the agreement, signed. The next thing all I wanted out of that, and that was just for taxes. That's all I wanted in 2005. Clufee held it over my head for 12 years. This is going on the third year that I haven't been on the council. Why is it so hard to have a title change from AC Equipment Incorporated to David and Vandalina Castaldo? Now, when I bought the property through the RDA, I had to put in curb and gutter and sidewalks. If you drive by my property, there's curb and gutter and sidewalks. Yet, for 12 years, there's still an exclusion on there that if I don't put the curb and gutter and sidewalks in, the city can take back the property. I can't get a loan on the property. I paid for it. It's paid for in full. Yet, for some reason, nobody wants to go over there and take care of this title. But I got the curb and gutter. Not only do I have the curb and gutter, I got a little handicap ramp too that goes nowhere. But once again, this is going on for 12 years. I had to pay $30,000 as a retainer. Part of that agreement in 2005, that if I had to file suit and I prevail, the losing party has to pay my attorney fees. So you guys are paying the law firm of Pinckney? You guys are going to be paying the law firm of Gresham and the three Jew guys or whatever they are, just to settle this. It's simple. All I want, and now I got monetary damages because I couldn't. I don't want anything more. I don't want anything less. Just the money that I have lost for not receiving my title. I thank you, and I hope we can cooperate and get this resolved quickly. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Yes. Last one is Gail Wallace.
Hi, I'm Gail Wallace. My address is 540 Edgar here in Beaumont. A few weeks ago, after my accident on Mother's Day, I came in and I commented about our sidewalks and our approaches into the streets. Okay, they're terrible. The one at 76 and Beaumont Avenue still hasn't been fixed. I have literally fallen twice and had an ambulance come out, and I refused it. Okay, I don't know why someone's not doing something about our curbs and gutters, our sidewalks. Then the other day I noticed that our sidewalks, they don't go out to this side of the street and to this side of the street. They take us right down the center of the street, right across the other side of the, not down, each side. They're right through the center of the intersections. I thought that was pretty strange. I never noticed it. And then also someone made a comment to me that they saw an employee that had been terminated back on the same department. And I said, there's no way. Well, today I saw the same employee. After the raid was for the FBI, I know there were so many employees that were terminated. Well, I literally saw one back in an employee vehicle today, and I was very disturbed. I don't see how somebody that can be let go out of a position be hired back in that same position. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No other speakers.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comments at 7:10. We'll move now to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are taken as one action item unless an item is pulled for further discussion. Here are at the end of action items. Approval of all ordinances and resolutions to be read by title only. Before we go into the consent calendar, Mr. Pardon, you wanted to bring up the item number 17 and make a suggestion regarding our decision to table it.
Sure. The consultant that actually prepared the study for us is here, especially tonight, to be able to make a presentation. In addition to that, we did advertise a public hearing. So thought it might be appropriate at least to be able to open the public hearing, receive any comments if there's anybody here tonight to address that issue. And then you can continue that public hearing on to the 17th. You don't take action, but I don't know if it'd be helpful to get a presentation and then to be able to at least open the public hearing tonight.
I'm comfortable with putting it back on for that purpose. Anyone else have a problem with that?
Right, I'm good.
Okay, so we'll reinstate item 17. So consent agenda. Does anyone have an item they'd like pulled from the consent agenda?
A question on 6.
On 6, okay.
Question on 7.
And 7?
I have a question on 9.
All right, I have no questions. So we'll pull item 6, 7, and 9. Can I get a motion for the balance of the consent calendar?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I have speakers for some of the items, but you can hear them after or before.
Which item numbers?
3, 4, 13, and 14.
Mr. Mayor, you can allow, if you so choose, you can allow the members of the public to come up and speak on the items before you vote on the consent calendar items as a group, or you can pull them and discuss them individually. It's up to you.
Okay, I'd like to hear the comments, and then we can vote on the items as a group. If any of you'd like to pull one after hearing the comments, we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so we'll open public comments on the consent calendar at 7:11.
First speaker for item 3 is Judy Bingham.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. Part of the Potrero agreement was that the money would be in a bank account separate from the city's general fund to ensure that Beaumont taxpayer dollars are not being wasted to build infrastructure that will be turned over to the state. A separate bank account would require a separate check warrant register. The city started taking the developer's money a long time ago. Where is the separate bank account? I have submitted a public records request I have submitted several separate public records requests that has not been completed. Where is the separate bank account for Potrero, or should we just write that off again?
Ms. Bingham, don't sit down for a second. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and pull that item and discuss it after the other comments. Is that for both comments 3 and 4, or do you have a separate comment on 4?
Separate on 4.
Okay, can we hear that?
That's the warrant. Oh, wait, got the right one. Just let me make sure.
Do we have any other speakers?
Yeah, I think
I
got
can
this.
come back to you. That's why I'm asking. Is there other speakers besides Ms. Bingham on the consent calendar?
This one doesn't have a name, but Judy, it looks like your handwriting for Party Homes on number 13. Is that you also?
Yeah, but I've got.
Okay. That's the only speaker I have.
Okay, so 13, nothing on 14?
It's Judy as well.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Okay. So this is on item 4, correct?
4.
Okay.
And that would be the warrants, yes. To date, the law firm of Slovic, Barron, Impey, Murphy, and Pinckney has funneled $1,923,012.93 out of the city of Beaumont. For over 2 years, Pinckney has submitted blank invoices and claimed that neither the public nor the council were privy to what the law firm was doing. Rule 4, 200, fees for legal services. A member shall not enter into an agreement for, charge, or collect an illegal or unconscionable fee. Unconscionability is defined as the amount of the fee in proportion to the value of the services performed, the relative sophistication of the member and the client, the difficulty of the questions involved, and the skill requisite to perform legal service properly, the amount involved, and the results obtained, the experience, reputation, and ability of the member or members performing the services, the informed consent of the client to the fee, a public bid contract submitted to the City of San Clemente by the firm of Slavic, Barron, Impey, Murphy, Pinckney.
Mrs. Bingham, how does this apply to the warrants on number 4?
Because they're his fees.
Okay.
Okay? A public bid contract submitted to the City of San Clemente included a sample invoice that was very detailed, so it is quite clear that the law firm knows right from wrong, but is intentionally defrauding the citizens of Beaumont. April 19th, 2016, the law firm of Slavic...
Ms. Bingham, I believe you're way off subject on this. This is not April 19th. This is September, warrants are September 28th, not April 19th. I mean, you're bringing up issues that are not related to the warrants that you're speaking about.
The only month the law firm charged the City of Beaumont a $7,500 retainer fee was April 2015, and the law firm left that off their list. The law firm's invoices were disclosed to the public, show that the law firm overcharged the retainer fee every month except April 2015, when the law firm charged the city $7,500 retainer for the 2 days remaining in the month and $12,000 over retainer.
I'm comfortable with item 4 as it reads. Is there any objections to leaving it in the group?
No.
Okay. Next item was item 13, I believe, right?
Correct.
13. You're up, Mrs. Bingham. Please stay on topic to this item.
Developers continue to build houses in Beaumont without valid CEQA EIRs, but Pinckney thinks CEQA laws only apply to stop moratoriums on construction. 20,000 houses have been built in Beaumont without filing proper CEQA EIRs. Over $3 million in Melrose bonds have been acquired by the city, but not one person on Beaumont's staff or council knows the difference between a requisition and a bond fund account, or the difference between accounting codes and a personal bank account number. It doesn't matter how many times he says he needs to block out the bond fund accounting codes.
Mrs. Bingham, this is an issue regarding a storm drain improvements and the security agreement for the improvements. Let's move on to item 14, please. First of all, item 13, is anyone uncomfortable with that? Want to pull it for more discussion? Okay. So item 14.
Ms. Bingham.
This Oric Harrington Sutcliffe firm is the same law firm that was hired at $900 an hour to fight the SEC. This is the same law firm that told council it was perfectly legal to forge the bond certificates of completion to illegally transfer $5 million into the general fund. I have no faith in this law firm.
Is that the end of public comments?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to, Mr. Pardon, would you like to respond to item number 3 regarding the, I guess it, why there are not, will there be a separate warrant account for the funds from the Potrero land developers?
And we have Finance Director, Ms. Taylor, here to address
Sure.
the question.
Hello.
Hi.
We have opened a construction account in Bank of Hemet that is containing all the funds that we are getting from the landowners contributing towards the costs of the Potrero project. That has been established. Those funds have been deposited into that account, and we will be providing a listing of the expenditures that affect that account. We'll be writing the checks from the pooled account, but then be doing direct reimbursements. That'll be for the exact same dollar amounts pulling over on a monthly basis.
Okay. And item 20, Mr. Pardon, you're going to give us a little bit more of an update on similar issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll move that we pass, I move approval on items number 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
As the consent calendar.
As the consent calendar, yes.
I will second.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. So now we'll move to item number 6. Mr. Martinez, you pulled that one.
Yes. Question on the 6. Hello, Chief. My question concerns, okay, so I see the fee going up, of course, and then I see, and I'm glad that you have the percent comparisons on the statistics of the live release and so forth. But what I don't see is any other comparison for any other type of service from another, I don't know if I call them vendor. Are there any other vendors out there that we might want to start looking at for price comparisons before we just say, give them what they want?
Right, and so the fees between the two vendors is Ramona and Riverside County. And those fees pretty much mirror each other at this point. And so with, comparing the apples to apples, if the money's all the same, then, what are the intangibles? And so we certainly looked at the live release rates. And, we look at our, we know that community cats are pretty important. And so we look at the cats, right? We look at the dogs and the other animals. But, with Ramona having a live release rate in the 93 percentile, and then the county's somewhere close to the 78 percentile. So we look at that, and we really want to connect the pets back to the owners, and we really like those efforts. And that's something that we strive for, that we strive to be a no-kill program. Secondly, then we look at the partnership where because of the relationship that we've had, we looked at the issue with the feral cats, that Ramona's partnering with us to seek the grants, on our behalf when we have a program like the TNR and we have to get into an area with the cats, then that's a partnership. That's no charge, to the residents. And so when we look at some of the county fees that are add-ons, then that's when we wanted to come back to council and say, look, we've enjoyed this relationship, it works, the statistics are, I think, what betters this community as far as pet ownership and returning the pets, and the money's pretty much equal, except for a few of the add-ons that we would have to do.
My only concern was I didn't see the numbers. Doing my due diligence with finance, we have to make sure that we're doing comparable numbers. And, if those are truly comparable, then of course we look at other things like your percentage, like your statistics, and that I appreciate. So if you're telling me that you've looked at the numbers and you believe they're pretty comfortable, and then Ramona has these other additions that are to our benefit and to the animals' benefit, then I'm comfortable with that. But next time I might want to see just some numbers just for the comparison.
Right, and so I do apologize for that. I thought I had it in here, but Ramona is basically raising up to match the county rates, so they can stay and, keep operating to cover their own costs of doing business.
Okay, and I'm good with that, as long as you tell me the numbers are good.
I have a question for you. One of the first council meetings that the four of us were here was comparing Ramona to the county at the time. Was that just a regular review of our contract. Do you remember why we did it at that time? I know you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of our first things we talked about. So we did a pretty large presentation. This one I shortened down in that sense. But, you know, at the time, really, I think we were looking at, I mean, you know, we were looking for every dollar that the city could find. And at that time, Ramona was significantly less expensive. And again, we had a relationship with them. And as far as, when I say relationship, I mean the animal control officers, they know the procedures to check in. We know that they're going to partner with us in the community. But we brought it because it had expired, and we wanted to be as transparent in the police department and bring something this sizable to council to make that decision. And so that's what we're doing again is absolutely is the police department is requesting that you approve it, and you approve it with the option that staff can then decide on that second year that the rates have remained consistent. They're coming through on their promises of partnering with us on these TNRs. And so if that's our request, is that you would approve first year and then give us the option to just do it a second year after that without bringing it back.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'll move then that we renew the Ramona Humane Society agreement with rate increase for item 6 on the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. And Mr. Laura, you had item number 7.
Chief, just a quick question. The way that I read the background on this was that it looks like the city's insurance is paying for the vehicle, but is that true, or misunderstanding that, or is that the person who caused the accident, is their insurance company paying for the?
Yeah, so my understanding is that our insurance is covering the vehicle minus the deductible, and then we're gonna go after the motorist who had a suspended license and seek retribution through whatever losses that we have at the end of the day to recover those losses, so that the city's not out of pocket.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you, Chief, very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on item 7?
I'll make a motion to approve item 7.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
And Mayor White?
Yes. Item 9, Ms. Carroll, that one was yours.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is just for staff. Is this different than what we've done before? It seemed a little more detailed, but is it any different? And that's it. That's all I have.
It's consistent, so this is housekeeping, so we're just trying
Okay.
to make sure we're compliant with the statute.
That was it. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. Would you like to make a motion, Ms. Carroll?
I would make a motion that we approve consent calendar item number 9.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. All right, we'll move to item 16. Discussion and action to fill vacancy on city council by appointment or special election.
Mayor, I have
17 up.
I thought we'll just leave 17 where we were at.
All right.
Is that person still here?
Yes.
Okay, yes. We'll leave 17 after this one, okay? So, Mr. Lara, did you have a comment, or do you want to hear from
I
staff?
have a question or something I'd like to present.
Okay.
Regarding this vacancy, I would like to make a motion to declare the seat vacant so that the city can begin moving forward on this item.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Pinckney, is there any issues with doing that regarding the plea bargain or the case against Mr. Orozco and his agreement to resign?
Well, just by way of background, the press release that came out from the district attorney's office stated that Mr. Orozco entered a plea before Judge Diaz, and he pleaded guilty, and he was scheduled to be sentenced on October 20, or is scheduled to be sentenced on October 24th. and that he was going to resign from office following his sentencing on the 24th, so presumably after that. The Penal Code provides that every member of a city council, the legislative body of a city that's convicted of a crime that's defined in the article in that section of the Penal Code, in addition to any punishment, they also forfeit their seat, their office, and they're forever disqualified from holding any office in the state or any political subdivision thereof. So if the council, I mean, it's pretty clear from the district attorney's press release in terms of what had occurred, that he had pled guilty, and given the Penal Code provision, if the council is inclined to declare the office vacant and start the process, I think you can do that. We know that after the 24th that he's going to be, according to the press release, resigning from office as well. So I think it's up to you if you want to declare it vacant now, or if you want to just initiate the process and wait for the sentencing to be completed on the 24th. It's your call.
I'd like to have just a little more discussion on this motion, because I think it sort of plays into what we're talking about on this whole agenda item. I like the idea of declaring it vacant now so that we can start the process, as opposed to waiting till it's official declared, because then that's the 24th and we don't have another council meeting. This all has to be done in regular council meetings, not special. So we wouldn't be able to address it until November 2nd. And we've already been without a fifth council member for probably 4 months now. So I do like the idea of declaring it vacant so that we can then decide on a process to move forward.
There are different statutes that come into play here. One is in the government code, which provides that upon conviction of a felony or any offense involving a violation of his or her official duties, that a city council member's office is deemed vacant. That government code section goes on to explain what a conviction means, and basically ties it to the sentencing, which hasn't in this case occurred yet. There's a penal code section that I mentioned earlier that provides that upon their conviction, they forfeit their office. Although the sentencing hasn't occurred, it's our understanding that he has pled guilty. So I think you can start the process of how you're going to fill the vacancy, because we know that there's going to be a vacancy. Either tonight you're going to declare it vacant, or you're going to do it after the sentencing process on the 24th. So you know that's coming, so you can start the process and then fill the seat whenever you deem it's appropriate. You can declare it vacant tonight, or you can wait until after the 24th.
So just for clarification, if we start a process where, and we're going to talk about timeframes, but if we started a process where we had someone appointed at the time that he resigns, then the following meeting, say first meeting in November, we could then go ahead and seat that person.
Yes, you could do that.
Okay.
And there is, the district attorney's press release did indicate that there's a process in place, and that is that he had indicated to the court that he was pleading guilty, that he was going to be sentenced on the 24th, and the government code section that's applicable here says that an office becomes vacant on the happening of any of the following events before the expiration of a council member's term, and that would be his or her conviction of a felony or any offense involving a violation of his or her official duties. And then it says an officer shall be deemed to have been convicted under this subdivision when the trial court judgment is entered. For purposes of this subdivision, the trial court judgment means a judgment by the trial court either sentencing the officer or otherwise upholding and implementing a plea, verdict, or finding. So under the government code section, the way I read that section is it would probably be more appropriate to allow the process that's unfolding in the criminal court to go forward. And then after that, declare it vacant. But you could start the process now. You could appoint somebody you could vote for somebody to fill the vacancy and then not have them officially take the office until the first meeting in November if you choose to do so. So does that help?
Well, no, it confuses it a little bit more.
So there really should be a third option
Well,
here.
that's what I was going to bring up,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we can still, I mean, we cannot declare it vacant by that rule, but we can declare it vacant by his abandoning his position.
Well, he has. There's also a provision in the government code that provides that after. Let me just find that section here. Where a council member ceases to discharge their duties of their office for a period of 3 consecutive months, except when it's prevented by sickness. Now, there's an attorney general opinion that states that they have to express their intent to abandon the office. And it's not a binding, it's just an opinion of the attorney general. But it states that they have to actually express their intent to abandon the office. In our case, we have a letter from his lawyer stating that his intent was to take a leave of absence. So that brings into question whether that letter is sufficient to show an intent to abandon their office. I think it could be argued either way, but it has been more than 3 months. And then, so I read you the government code section that deals with the conviction of a felony. Okay, that's the government code. And that says that when essentially ties it to the sentencing hearing, which is scheduled on the 24th. There's also the abandonment of office for 3 months, for 3 consecutive months. They abandon their office. You get an attorney general opinion that says that they have to express their intent to actually fully abandon their office. And then you have a penal code section that says that once they're convicted of a specified crime, that they forfeit their office and are forever barred from holding office in the state of California. So I think that there's a legal argument to support declaring the office vacant tonight. I mean, you have sort of competing code sections, but there'd be an argument to support declaring the office vacant tonight. You're not going to appoint anybody tonight, I presume. So the other option would be just initiate the process to start the application process for people that want to apply for that position, give people the time, opportunity to express their interest, and then you can declare the office vacant after the sentencing on the 24th. I mean, this is already set into motion anyway. It's going to happen. So you could, and that way there'd be no question that under any of these provisions of the law, you will not have prematurely declared the office vacant. There'd be no argument after the sentencing hearing that you've prematurely declared the office vacant. But you can initiate the process now, and then you wouldn't swear them in until sometime after the 24th at a regular meeting.
Okay, I would, at this point, I would support the motion in the second, but I want to give each of you the opportunity to reaffirm your motion or second and to see if there's any other comments, Mr. Martinez.
So restate what you're looking for. Are you looking to vacate today?
I'm looking to vacate today. I think that the city has been through enough. Unfortunately, he did not take the opportunity to vacate the position when we had asked. And he took the option to stop coming and serving his duty. And I think we need to put this behind us and move forward, which is why I'm making that request this evening.
I agree with what Councilmember Laura said. I did ask. The answer was to send a letter of a leave of absence, which my understanding of leave of absence is there has to be like an agreement to accept that. So just sending a letter, to me, doesn't make for a deal of a leave of absence. It just declares that you think that you should be able to do that. So I support what Councilmember Laura said, and that basically it has been vacated in terms of him not being here. And the city does need that seat. That's why there is one, and that's why people vote on it. So I support that.
And just before, Mr. Martinez, just before you speak, I just want to also remind, we did not accept his leave of absence. We voted not to accept it. But Mr. Martinez, did you have comments?
No, I mean, I was looking at it from a little bit more of the October 24th date. I mean, we know that's vacated. It's going to be official that date. Everything goes off of that date. We set up our procedures now. We know what applications, we can put our deadlines up now. We know when the applications are done. If we waited till the 24th, we can have applications due by the 7th. That gives we can appoint on the 21st and have somebody in November 21st. But I understand the gravity of the situation, and I understand that the city has been way too long with just 4 members. So, I don't have an official way either way. I mean, I'll support you. You've made the argument enough to where I would support that if you wanted to vacate today. There's surely enough reason for it.
Okay.
So I have no problem.
Can you take a roll call, please?
So I have a motion by Laura, second by Carol, to declare the seat vacant. Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carol?
Yes.
And Mayor White?
Yes. Now I'll throw out a suggestion, and then you guys can comment or add your own suggestions. I'd suggest that we give staff direction to begin the application process immediately and bring back to the November 17th meeting, October 17th meeting. Maybe set a deadline for October 16th. And then on October 17th, we can do our interview process. And if we can come to an agreement on someone that night, we can appoint them that night and seat them on November 2nd. By then, Mr. Orozco would have officially resigned, and the new council member would have enough time to get up to speed on the items that we will be discussing on November 2nd, and we get going right away. So we just don't skip a beat, and we keep moving forward. I know it's aggressive, but I think it's not like we haven't been thinking about what the process was going to be for quite some time. So any other suggestions or comments on that? Okay, Ms. Carroll.
I think that being that assertive with the schedule is probably a good idea with the holidays coming up also. People get busier. I think if we don't do it now and establish an appointment in early November, then we're going to end up, people have busy lives, and we may not get the quality response that we want from the public, so I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Lara.
Is there any stipulation requirement as far as the time of advertisement? No? Okay. Then I like the aggressive schedule. Again, it's really time to put this behind us. Get that 5th seat done so that we can move forward doing our jobs the way the public expects us to, with the full 5-member council.
I agree. Mr. Martinez, did you have a thought?
No, I'm just looking at the schedule, and if it's a 3rd, so we get it posted up in the paper and we let people know. You'll come up with a plan, I'm sure, on how to aggressively put it to the public. We got 9, we got Columbus holiday. It gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're looking at 9 days to find a qualified candidate. If you're looking at the 16th deadline, you think that's not too aggressive? Or?
My comment.
I don't want to go too fast.
Yeah, my comment was the same last time around. Was that we want somebody, or I want somebody who's familiar with what's going on. And if they don't know a position is open tonight, I think that's what I'm looking at. What I'd like to do, if you guys are comfortable with that schedule, we could either brainstorm tonight and provide Mr. Pardon with 4 or 5 questions that we would like included on an application. So some of those questions, or we could submit them to him by email in the following days. or tomorrow, he can put together, so some of the questions that we would probably want to ask candidates are on the application, and we can get their responses at that time. Like I said, we could either do it tonight. I'd rather just each of us send them 1 or 2 questions tomorrow, but then we may send the same question. So how do you guys want to proceed on giving him direction on that?
Yeah.
I think it's good to email them, and if we're sending the same questions, we're probably just sending a similar question, and he can synthesize the question into one. So I think that that's okay, as long as we end up with a certain amount. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Councilmember Martinez has a good point, and so that I'm clear, if there is not a candidate that we all agree on the 17th, we can redo that, correct?
Yeah, we have more time. I mean, if we're, that's why I like about the aggressive, not waiting till the 24th, is it gives us that much more time if we are deadlocked, or if we want to get a new group of candidates, if we don't find someone we're all comfortable with.
Well, I would say that applications that might be received by noon on the 16th would be subject for the first round of consideration. Anything that comes in after that then maybe would be considered as a alternative or a backup should that crop not suffice.
That's a good idea.
Perhaps.
So why don't we each email Mr. Pardon tomorrow to maybe 2 or 3 questions?
Now, my only question on the question is that do we still have the option to, of course, ask candidates other...
I'm glad you asked that, because I had another idea on that.
Okay, well, let's discuss.
I'm thinking with the number of candidates we get, we could each pick a candidate that we'd like to hear more from. And that means we're only interviewing 4 here. I'm just trying to stay away from the all-night, I'll call it an adventure as opposed to something less appealing. So I would like to, if we could each pick one that we're comfortable with, and then we can then bring those folks up and ask them questions that were not on the application or ask for clarification.
As long as they know ahead that that's going to happen, and
Sure.
we agree that we're going to, this is very important. So this is not just an ad hoc committee. So this is something that we might have to take time on and even redirect and ask. So.
Are you guys comfortable with that idea? Because we could have Mr. Pardon just put that in the application, that this is what will happen on the 17th.
As far as the procedure?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay. Do you have enough direction, Mr. Pardon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item 17.
Council, this item is to discuss the administrative planning, building safety, fire prevention, public works, community services, and missed in the title, police department, animal care service fees. It's actually very relevant with the increase in fees. That's what we looked at also in this fee study, to separate animal care the cost of Ramona versus the administrative, so that if the fees change in the future, we don't have to adjust our fees. We'll have a separate admin charge plus the shelter charge. So that's in there under that, so I wanted to point that out. So that in the future, if fees adjust up or down, if we negotiate better rates or they change, the new fee has actual costs for shelter fees, and then we charge our admin in time to drive them back and forth. The California Constitution grants cities the authority to establish fees to recover the cost of providing services. The city of Beaumont has not seen a comprehensive review of updates of all city user fees, and I don't know when. I put over a decade, but I really don't know when the last time we've had a fee study. I've never found one for user fees in our system. I know that the building department hasn't changed in over 20 years. I know planning has had some piecemeal fees come in and out over the last 15 years, but I don't know of other than some of the impact fees that we've done. I don't know of any comprehensive user fee study in the time I've been here. The city contracted with MGT Consulting to conduct a new comprehensive review and update our city user fees. Beginning in 2016, we worked closely with MGT and department heads and all staff in city departments to review and update departments' activities related to their user fees.
The goals of the project were as follows: ensure the city is accurately accounting for the total cost to provide fee-related services by conducting a citywide cost-based user fee study, analyze areas where the city may adjust fees based on the full cost of services and other economic or policy implications, identify best practices for establishing user fees and maintenance of fees over time, and to review the data from comparable agencies providing similar fee services. I have MGT here as per the contract to come down for one council meeting, which is why I wanted to have them provide, as they did take a plane down here just for this, to give the presentation. I also have in the staff report the different fee study methodology, which I'll let them touch on, as well as the fee study findings. I also wanted to point out the fiscal impact that we have in here that shows that we have been roughly only collecting about 56% of our recovery of costs. With this proposed fee schedule, we'll get closer to 87%. So we're not subsidizing individuals as much as subsidizing what's more for the community benefit, or that we see another benefit. As some of those, as we get into specific questions, some of those instances are subsidizing licensing fees for altered animals. Some of it's subsidizing water heater replacements, because we'd rather get in there and inspect than have people just replace them without a permit. So by making that a very low cost permit, we're protecting the public and the safety in that sense. A lot of the planning fees are going to a deposit base so that there's less of a question of that average. We're going to charge the exact cost. The big difference on specific plan amendments, sometimes it's a small planning area that only affects the land use that we bring to council. Sometimes a specific plan amendment could affect a very large area, and we had one flat fee. So a lot of those fees went to a deposit base to cover our cost. One of the big things you'll notice is engineering does not show estimates for revenues. A lot of the fee structure in that completely changed. We completely changed the fee structure. A lot of the plan checks were based on valuation. Now we're going to a per sheet plan check to, again, more accurately recover the cost. But because the change, we don't know how many sheets we had plan checked because it was valuation based, so we can't estimate what those revenues are going to be. So that's why the revenues aren't there. Additionally, a lot of fees were just left off. It was kind of things we just did as part of the plan check that didn't have an associated fee. Every time you see one of these bonds come to council, that report staff writing, there was no separate fee to bring those subdivision agreements and bonds to council. So those are things that we incorporated into our fee schedule that we knew were missing over time. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to MGT. Oh, I apologize. One last thing is we worked with the BIA. We sent them this 3 weeks ago, and we had a conference call with them last night. One thing that was expressed that we agreed on and worked with them and thanked them for their diligence was that part of the fees for the building and safety department didn't identify how we were using the valuation based. So you'll notice in the updated fee schedule that I gave you on page 4 of 13, we added an asterisk next to the building cost construction fee calculated by value. And so we're identifying that the valuation is based on the latest published International Code Council, ICC, building valuation data, square foot construction costs. So we're always going to use the latest published ICC so that anyone at any time can go to the latest published to calculate their valuation and understand their fees, and it's not a hidden cost. So I just wanted to make that clarification that is presented to you will be updated with the resolution if adopted.
Okay, I have a quick question for you so that I don't forget it, and maybe you'll defer to MGT. Get all the different initials mixed up. Because of, probably one of our biggest people watching what we're doing and are going to comment on it is the BIA. So do we have a sense of the increase in cost for, BIA, I would assume, is predominantly home building. So do we have an idea of how much more expensive these fees are going to make building a home?
Absolutely. So with discussing with them, we put together a complete comparison using an existing example of a home pulled by Party Homes and compared it to their old building permit fee, which would have been $1,733.55. Under the new valuation-based fee and the new fees, it'll be $4,558. And I can note that after talking to some people at Pardee, that is much closer to the permit fees they pay in other cities.
Oh, I thought you were going to say after talking to Pardee. Very.
So we haven't changed ours in 20 years, at least, in the building. So the old valuation numbers that we've been using to calculate are not recent. One of the examples I think I was looking at on the chart is we were basing it on a $70 per square foot, and now it's $100 and some odd dollars. So the fact that we'll be updating both the valuation and the costs for that valuation does show it as a very striking increase, but does put us much closer on level with other cities and their collections. And although this may still be on the higher side of other cities, looking at some comparisons and talking with MGT, the overall fees may still be on average because they may charge a higher plan check fee than we do. So the total fees would still be around right on average, but this is the range that they're paying. And when we talk to them, Lake Elsinore and Santa Clarita with Pardee, so they're closer to paying $4,000 for permit fees in those cities.
Okay, so we may bring you back for some more questions after we hear from you.
Absolutely. And let me again turn it over to MGT, introduce themselves, and provide some more information on the methodology.
Well, thank you for reopening the item.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you guys were.
We really appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you regarding the fees. We want to be available to answer any questions. I think Rebecca has done a wonderful job in spearheading this whole project, and I do want to recognize how hard all the staff has worked on providing us information and working with us to complete this study. So with that, my name is Cindy Sconce, and I'm with MGT Consulting. I also have Mr. Jeff Wakefield, MGT. So one of the study objectives was really to look at all of the fees, all of the user fees here at the City of Beaumont. We then wanted to calculate the direct and indirect costs related to those fees. We then, review the implementation options that you would have. And then we also wanted to review, once we did review the implementation options, we wanted to go over the recommended defensible fee adjustments. So that was really the objective of this study. So what was the methodology? So one of the first things we did is we looked collectively at all of the user fees here at the city. We compiled a complete catalog. We reviewed that with each department, identified what fees may be irrelevant, no longer necessary, what fees are missing from those fee schedules, and then were there opportunities to consolidate or streamline or simplify those fees for the users. We also then calculated the direct cost. This would be your staff cost. And we looked at the time spent on the various activities for each of the services that they're providing. Then we looked at the indirect cost to that staff. So departmental cost. Are there materials and supplies associated with providing that service? What's your citywide cost? That would be coming from your cost allocation plan. And then we looked at what your current fee was and what our full cost analysis was. That gave us a good idea of what it is costing the City of Beaumont to provide those services in relationship to your current fee you're collecting. So I know this is a little bit tiny, but this is just a quick snapshot. So this shows the current fee. This is demolition fee. We currently charge $50. We looked at the time spent by your building permit tech, your building inspector, and your building official versus their fully burdened rate. And then we determined that the cost there would have been $319. This is a fee that, based off a discussion with staff, they are recommending to continue the same fee at $50. But that gives you kind of an overview of the analysis. As Rebecca mentioned, currently, the city is only recovering collectively about 56%.
Cindy, I'm sorry, Ken. I think Mr. Laura, did you want to? We should just ask our questions as she goes along. If you're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you had a question on that last slide.
On the fully burdened rate, do you, and if I didn't find it in here, I apologize, but do we have a fully burdened rate for each individual?
For
Do
each
we have a
position
table
type.
of that?
Yes. Yes. It is not included in the report. It has been provided to each of the departments.
Yeah, we have it in the full Excel model that is provided to us per the contract, so that as we want to look at readjust fees, we have that capability, but it was not published in the public study.
Okay.
So if you'd like those models, or you'd like the study updated for the next one, we can definitely put the fully burdened rates into the study and provide it to you for the next meeting.
Right, because the reason that's important to me is that with the County of Riverside, we have a fully burdened rate, and that's how we determine our fees, because we've got to cover that cost. Because if you don't cover that cost, then somebody else is paying for it, whether it's obviously the taxpayer. And so when you talk about a $50 demolition permit, I have a concern if you have somebody, let's just say the fully burdened rate of that person to go out and inspect that demolition is $100, you're losing a lot of money in that regard. So thank you. That's the question.
And even without that, the chart does show you the fully burdened cost and then our recommended fee at policy level.
Oh,
So that is in the chart now. So it tells you the ones that we are recommending a lower fee, such as demolition, because usually when people are in here demolishing, it's due to, there's a reason, and we'd rather get the building down than setting up. So, we felt there was a public benefit for the demolition permit, and we do so few. It's, 1 or 2 every couple of years.
We had a total of 5 on average over the last few years.
So there's, we can go over if you'd like, one for one on why we were recommending a subsidy, but it is shown in your current chart what the full rate is, and then what the recommended fee is at policy level.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anybody else, just jump in if you have.
No, I was just going to say, so on that report, you don't have the justification for why you might keep it lower or so forth. You just, it's in a discussion somewhere, but I can imagine what the report would look like if you put a justification for everything.
Exactly. Yeah, I worked with our city manager, Mr. Parton, here to go over all of them and give him the reasons why I felt it made sense to justify. A lot of them, like I mentioned in my presentation, have to do with either a community benefit, like tearing down an old, boarded up building. If we can get them to tear it down, sometimes we want to give that demolition permit for free. So by doing it only at $50, we can get properties cleaned up, and people don't have to come up with only the money to clean it up, not the money for the permit.
So if we see something on the fully burdened report that we might just ask, then
Absolutely.
We can better that way.
You can either recommend an additional subsidy if you want to decrease it more and give more of a benefit, or if you feel that it's something that should be charged at fully burdened rate, we can adjust that fee schedule on your recommendation and bring it all the way up to the fully burdened rate.
Thank you for the slight detour.
Yeah, absolutely. Please chime in. Okay. This is just really reiterating what Rebecca has stated. Overall, you're only recovering collectively about 56%. We did not include the engineering fees, as Rebecca mentioned, because there were considerable restructuring of those fees, and it was hard to determine what that revenue might be. In addition, we did make recommendations to add new fees in working with staff they were performing services, but it was not on your fee schedule. In addition, a majority of the engineering fees are deposit-based, which then you're just charging your actual cost against, so it's really revenue neutral on those. And once again, as Rebecca mentioned, I'm not sure when your last comprehensive fee study was performed. At majority, probably about 10 years. In looking at the valuation that you were using, building probably about 20 years.
What do you find most cities, how often reviewing that?
We really recommend every 3 to 5 years to perform one. One of the things, It's not in any of my fancy slides, but working with Rebecca, you have implemented a new system here at the city. And utilizing that system, you're going to be able to collect data on a much better scale. With that, the recommendation is to review these fees and then go back and see if items that we currently have maybe set as a deposit could be set at a flat fee. We've gone deposit-based because we really don't have that information as to whether it's consistent in its time or the time varies quite a bit. So by putting it as a deposit base, we know that you'll collect the revenue for what time you're expending.
And same with, the big concern with the BIA is inspection time. We don't have software that recorded that. Our new software system does. We're not fully 100% implemented on that because we're still waiting for the portal for the inspection request, so we're not tracking the main builders yet because there's so many inspections. It would take too much staff time to manually enter them in on a one-on-one basis. And so we're doing it for all permits issued under the new system that are inspecting now other than the builders. So we have a hybrid because some people still have permits under the old system that haven't been finalized, and then we have some in the new. So as we move forward over within the next 3 to 5 years when we're ready to do this again, we should have very good data that we can export on both some of these deposit-based, what we've charged on average over that 3 to 5 years, as well as actual inspection time for the building department, because they're able to literally on the tablets that we've set them up with, hit start and end, and it records the time, and then they mark it up passed, and then the only thing we have to add onto that is, like our permit text time to finish processing and all of that. Not mentioned, if you'll notice in the fee schedule, we do have a technology surcharge being proposed that helps pay for the GIS system, the addressing updates, the software system, all of that to keep us up to date on technology to make sure that we can get all this information in and also be more accurate in the future.
Very good.
Thank you.
This is just a snapshot per department that we analyzed where the fees fell. You can see we looked at administrative customer service. You were recovering about 87% of your costs there. There are some subsidies there, either regulated by state or just for the customer's benefit, for the community benefit. So if you were to adopt those fees as recommended, that would bump that up to 93% recovery for that department. Animal care services, we took a comprehensive look. As Rebecca mentioned, we did separate out the shelter costs so that it became actual cost. So that will fluctuate whether the shelter cost goes up or down. So you would recover that cost. You're currently recovering 55%. With the recommended increases, it would go to about 69%. It's not uncommon because often we will see some subsidies in your licensing fees for altered animals. So that's very common. Police department, again, 47% recovery right now. I will mention that during our comprehensive review of each of the fees, we did notice that there were several fees on the planning schedule that really should have been housed over in the police department. So those fees, because they were the primary department performing the activity, we've recommended to move those fees over to the police department to handle. So with any increases, that would bump that revenue to 76%, and that does include those fees that we are moving from planning over to the police department. Planning and building we looked at collectively because there's so much crossover with your building permit tech. Collectively, again, about 53% recovery on that. With implementing the new recommendations, you would jump that to about 95% cost recovery. That's due in large part, again, you haven't updated your building fees in about 20 years, and also going to deposit base on some of these planning fees that were flat rate, but we had no idea how much time was really being spent on those. Fire actually looked pretty good. However, I will mention that there are some new fire fees on there. After discussion with the fire marshal, it was determined that we were missing quite a few fees. This would be something that we would just monitor as a city and determine if those fees are necessary or not. With the city construction and development that is happening here. And when you go and revisit this in 3 to 5 years, you may find that some of those fees are not necessary, that you have not had to charge those. And lastly, again, we did not include engineering in that example.
Fire. A lot of it had to do with some things were done at the county level when we had the staff member here at the city. Now that that staff member we've gone to full contract with the county, they've wanted to pass some of those inspections off, but we didn't have a fee set. For instance, when someone gets a large family daycare license, the fire department goes and inspects it and provides a certificate that they've passed the inspection to community care licensing. We've never done that at the city of Beaumont. They've always contacted the county. Well, now that we're contracted with the county, they're sending them to the city, and we have no fee to collect that. And so we've worked both with the contract to keep it there until these fees are established, but we've compared it to their county fees to make sure that we've got the full comprehensive list of possible fees that could come up in the future, and based it on an estimate of time from both experience, from his experience doing the different kinds of inspections. So that's why there's quite a few that have been added, because there's a lot in the code that says these should be the permits, and we just didn't have a fee set up for them. We kind of just incorporated them into another one, or didn't perform it and they went straight to the county for that. So that's one reason.
Who will perform the inspection?
It will either be Richard Horner, who is contracted here to do the inspections, or if needed, if it needs to be referred with our contract, he can refer it to a higher member within CAL FIRE.
So would we collect this fee and then do a pass-through to CAL FIRE? Or would this?
Our contract is for his salary here. We collect our fees and we keep it, and then we pay the contract.
Okay.
So they were trying to pass off inspections to have him do that we've never collected fees for. So we kind of said, hold on, we need to create fees for these new inspections that you're having our staff person that we're paying for full-time here do, that we don't have fees set up for. And so it's not a pass-through. We are keeping the fees, and our person will perform it. We just didn't have those fees set up because we had never done it when it was a staff member of the city of Beaumont doing on staff for fire inspection.
So this will help subsidize the money that we're paying for his services?
That's correct. It'll make sure that we're collecting, again, more like 100% of the costs instead of a reduced cost.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. We did discuss implementation options, and this is something for you to consider. You can adjust all the fees and recover 100% full cost recovery. You could target 100% full cost recovery, but recommend to phase in certain fees if you feel like it's too big of a jump. You can recommend to subsidize fees or not subsidize fees. You can grandfather in the developers who have already submitted planning applications. These are all things that you can consider before voting on implementation. And those would be things we've discussed with staff, and we've put our best effort into the report provided. But again, we do encourage questions on why maybe something was recommended to subsidize or why something wasn't subsidized. I also want to point out, I believe you guys got this report. Is that correct? So, as Rebecca
Cindy,
mentioned...
Before you move on, the fourth bullet point there, how much authority do we have with that? I mean, at some point, a developer is automatically grandfathered in, right? We're not going to go back and say you now owe us more fees, correct?
That's correct. With the planning and public works application at the time of submittal and payment, that is the submittal and payment. The question would be where we would draw the line for building fees. You know, they submit an application for the phase. Is that where you want to lock them in, or at the time they actually pay and pull the permit? There's not much time in between, maybe a month, so that it's not a big concern. And with the 60-day window we have on development fees to implement. We cannot implement the fees any sooner than 60 days, which is why your resolution has 60 days for development fees. They'll be forewarned and be fully aware. So I'm not too worried about not grandfathering anyone in other than applications that have already been paid for.
I think one of the things we need to be aware of, though, is sometimes when you grandfather them in, the applications will sit, and then requests for extensions prior to expiration will occur. And I think we need to keep a close eye on that, because basically they're just holding a spot to prevent from paying the.
But that doesn't happen if we don't grandfather anybody in, correct?
Well, I think that the discussion is, say I have a conditional use permit that applied last month and I've determined that it's incomplete. Now, if I don't fully close it out when I told them you have 30 days to complete this, then they could be holding onto it for a year and say, well, we never completed it. We still paid your original $750 instead of the $2,300 we might have under the current fee. We're not going to have too many of those, and I'm not too concerned. And usually when it's been a certain period of time, most people understand that it's closed or withdrawn. But we can make extra sure that we send out letters that say your application will expire and new fees will be due if you don't continue within 30 days. And that's something easily we can do with planning applications. Public works applications are a little bit harder, but they are implementing times of required submittal. If you don't resubmit in 6 months, you're starting over kind of scenario. And so I think we're already protecting ourselves from those issues.
Okay. All right, sorry.
No, that's good. Any additional questions? I just wanted to briefly touch on what's in the report for you.
Okay.
I know that you'll spend time to review this for your next meeting. This report basically will summarize the analysis for each of the departments. It also provides the comprehensive executive summaries for each of those departments. On each of those summaries, you're going to see where we've listed out the individual user fee names, the description of how that fee is currently being charged, or if we've recommended to move it to a different department, you'll then see it on that schedule. You'll see the current fee analysis. And this is starting on, I think the first page is page 13 of the report, if you wanted to just look at it. You'll see that there's a column for current fee, and then our full cost analysis. And that's showing, based off of the time estimates, fully burdened rate, that is what it's costing the city to perform that activity.
Can I ask you one question before we leave the implementation slide? Because of your experience where you've done these studies and we see the bullet pointed options, do you have any input on which one of those choices causes the most problems and what we could expect? You might have heard the impact of one of those choices.
Sure. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but I think when you see big fee jumps on fees that have a very high volume, those may be fees you want to consider to phase in. So you don't have what we call fee shock. So somebody comes in 1 week, they come in 60 days, and now they're paying twice the fee, 3 times the fee. And again, that's because fees haven't been updated. So that's something, if you do develop a phase in, try to do it over a period of time so that that fee shock is reduced.
Good input.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. The one thing I would add is, and we've been in this business for, at least I've been in the business for 30 years, we often recommend or give the option of a phase-in, but I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 times when when a council has chosen to do the phase-in. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure as to why, but I think I think the general consensus is if you're going to take an action, just take that action all at one time rather than taking it piece by piece, I think is the conventional wisdom.
And you'll notice we did work, there are a few fees that we did recommend in the study to be phased in. Some of the ones that are required a permit by municipal code, but have never been upheld. Like there's a tobacco license permit from the police department that requires, you know, they out go and do an inspection, but we've never issued something and renewed it and kept up with it. So that's a fee we implemented and looked at. And so some of those fees, additionally charging an admin fee for business license. On the renewal, we're looking at phasing that in. So that way at this renewal, we can notify everyone there is now a renewal administrative fee and next year you will pay it. So we do recommend a few that are brand new but that are brand new fees about rolling them in the second year so we have more outreach. That gives us a year to send outreach and notifications and let them know that this fee and this license, even though it's always been required, is now something that we are enforcing and going to process. And so we do have a very few that we recommended as a phased in process, but most we are recommending that you implement immediately.
And those phase in you have highlighted in here? Because I see a lot of your recommendations.
In the footnotes.
Okay.
For those, or you will see that we've calculated a cost, but the recommended fee is 0.
And we did actually change that and put the fee schedule at the full fee, but we're just going to recommend a phased-in implementation.
Okay.
Per the footnotes. So we did move the fee to the full cost, like the renewal, the renewal of the business license, but we're per the study recommending that we don't implement it till the second year. That way, with the new renewals going out, we have an opportunity to let them know that the fee will take place the following year.
So
But for instance, the admin fee for a new license, we're not recommending phasing in. We'll take the admin fee at the application stage and only recommending that renewal admin charge to be phased in. So if you want, I can definitely make a list of the phased in implementation for the next.
And your definition of phasement in was just 1 year for
It was
all?
just 1 year.
Okay.
Not charge the first year.
Phasing, I'm
Let
thinking
everyone, yeah, no, it would be not charging the first year, letting everybody know we're starting this program. We're gonna start charging, and you basically have 1 year to prepare for that.
Okay.
And if you look on page 14, you'll see footnote 7, which applies, for example, to fees 17 and 17.1, for example, on page 13.
Mm-hmm.
You can see those are new fixed fees for business license renewals and business license renewal online. This is brand new fees that are full.
Oh, so that one's a 2-year phase.
Right, so $0 the first year, full price the second year.
Okay. Oh, okay.
As an example.
Okay.
Have you seen jurisdictions that may phase in a percentage? I know that drives accounting folks crazy, but so that you get maybe 50% this year, and then the following year you get the rest of the, so it's, you don't go from 0 to 100, you go from, you know, you're halfway and.
My suggestion, if that's the direction of council, is I would basically publish a new, instead of you adopt the resolution, I would amend the resolution to only, I'd have to go through fee by fee to recommend only a 50% increase from the previous fee. And just have you adopt that and then follow up with a year from that date with the full fee schedule for adoption. I can't imagine trying to publish a fee schedule, explain it to people, here's your fee, wait, no, not here's your fee until this date. So I would suggest if we go that way to just adopt one fee schedule, then come back and adopt the second fee schedule, should that be your direction.
Okay.
All right.
Any additional questions?
No, not for me. Any other questions?
Just real quickly, on the staff report where it says review data from comparable agencies and providing similar fee services, you'd mentioned that, of course, with the building as one example. So that was considered as you were going through it. There's no publication showing a comparison or anything.
Right. So what we did is we worked with staff to identify comparable cities, especially those cities that are currently experiencing high development. So we went through, identified certain fees. We did not look at every fee, but certain fees, and then did a comparison against those. So we did provide that information to staff in their consideration for their recommendation.
Okay, so are we done? We need to do a public hearing. Do you have more questions?
We're here all night.
Rebecca, on the deposit-based fees, I think you
Yes.
mentioned something that you're also looking, once you develop enough data, to look at maybe going deposit-based on some of the building and safety fees as well? or no?
No, we were
Okay.
not looking at any deposit base for building and safety. They're really just in Public Works and Planning Department.
Okay, so what I would suggest that you maybe look at when you do the deposit base is that you look at setting a floor of 20% of the initial deposit before you go back and look at the statement to see what's, because you don't want to start working on planning cases and then draw them negative.
Yes,
And then
our
come
new
back.
software, we're working on getting a trigger to put a hold once we've done it. So our plan is to do as an ongoing basis. When we work at it, we, at each month put in the time and the necessary dollars in there, and then it will put a hold before we could put more if we've gone under, and send out that request for additional fees. So our new software system is supposed to, we're working with them to give us that trigger below a certain amount, so that we know that we haven't gone below 15 or 20% to
Right.
collect more funds.
The other thing I would suggest is that when we do the resolution, that we put in there that no project will be worked on that has zero balance or less. One of the things that helps to avoid is running a number of cases negative, and then you never collect from them, and then sometime you're gonna have to come back to council and say, okay, we're negative on these cases totaling, $10,000 or $15,000. So if you put in your resolution that we will not work on any case that is at zero or below a floor of, say, 15% or 20% until supplemental fees are paid. And the other thing you'll have to do is you'll have to kind of establish on a rule of thumb how much time is left when you determine what
Yes.
those supplemental fees
Yeah,
are.
we figured it's going to be a learning curve in the first few years to figure that out, because we've never tracked our time that way in the past, since we've always had flat fees. But we're confident that with our new software system that we'll be able to handle it.
If you have any questions, you're welcome to give me a call as well. We did have to increase accounting staff when we did that, though, just so you know.
And there will be a fee if you call him for.
Well, we're hoping with the additional technology surcharge costs, that if we have to spend additional funds for programming the software, that we're collecting those fees, so that instead of bringing additional staff on, if we require additional programming the software, that the funds will be there to help us automate some of that information.
Yeah, the software was one thing that we ran into, but the physical mailing of a letter to let somebody know they owe you more money is the other thing, and then the collection of that money. And so that's just food for thought is all. Thank you very much.
Maybe we'll get a automatic mutual aid agreement between our planning department and inspection department and the county inspection.
You know what? No, that will not happen. Okay?
So we need to open a public hearing and then leave it open? Is that how we do it for the next meeting?
Right, you want to continue? You want to
Continue the
it
public
on to
hearing?
The 17th, yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and open a public hearing at 8:27. And do we have anyone who wanted to speak on this item?
No.
Okay, so now we continue it or close it?
Continue.
So we'll continue that public hearing till next meeting.
And I just wanted to make sure I got an understanding of what you guys would like back. So if I can review the recommendations. One is the phased-in items, which ones we're recommending to be phased in. I'll provide a list on that staff report. Did you want the fully burdened rate, or are you comfortable with the study and the full cost versus the subsidized
I
cost?
would like to see that
Okay.
for my own education.
Anything else?
Are you asking for the fully burdened rate or? Okay.
Fully, yeah.
Of all the staff. We'll add that into the report.
It's a fully burdened hourly rate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That's good.
Okay. Let's take a 10-minute.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 10-minute break. We'll come back at 8:40. And we are now on item 18, authorize mayor to execute grant deed and issue a request for proposal for architectural and engineering services for the purpose of building a west side fire station on a portion of assessor's parcel number 414-120-025.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. quick background analysis is back in March of this year, the city and the landowners, Trinity Partners LLC, entered into an MOU related to the development of the project out there that they were coining the Beaumont Village, and that's the 300 acres located north of State Route 60, south of Oak Valley Parkway, southwest of Interstate 10, and east of Potrero Boulevard. So right across the street from the Heartland development that's doing all the mass grading right now. So part of the MOU stated that the landowner intends to dedicate approximately 5 acres of land to the city for the development of a fire station and future police station. So staff has been working with the landowner and produced a grant deed that the property owner worked with us and our surveying crews to generate the legal description. It was a little bit tricky because the property doesn't have physical access except for Potrero Boulevard right now, and that's not full right of way. So we were able to ascertain where the future property is, get that on a grant deed. The property owner did sign it, and we're bringing that before you tonight for approval and authorize the mayor to authorize that grant deed, and we'll go ahead and record it, and then the city will basically gain access or ownership of that property. And then the next step is an RFP. So instead of waiting for the next meeting, we went ahead and packaged the RFP into this staff report, and that is to go out and obtain proposals for architectural and engineering services to build a fire station, which we're calling the West Side Fire Station. It will include prelim design, renderings, civil works such as grading, landscaping, roadway, sidewalks, etc., for roughly 6,000 to 8,000 square foot building for that fire station out there that's needed for the community. Staff does estimate the cost to issue and process the RFP to be around $550 for legal services, around $3,000 in staff time, and $600 for overhead costs, totaling about $4,150. That fiscal impact contract will be detailed, or the fiscal impact of the actual contract will be detailed when we bring back the RFP after it's been scored, after the interviews are completed, and we agree to an amount. That amount will be included in a future staff report for the awarding of that contract to perform the professional work. So staff does recommend that City Council authorize the mayor to execute the grant deed and authorize the issuance of an RFP for architectural and engineering services for the purpose of building a fire station on a portion of assessor's parcel number 414-120-025. And I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Do we have anyone wanting to speak on this?
No, we do not.
Okay. Any questions or comments for staff?
Well, I just want to say just a quick comment that hallelujah, because, you know, this is not just one of those projects that were requested, it was demanded. I mean, the public really was looking for something, you know. So at least this puts into motion, you know, what they're looking for. So I'm glad to see this package, and I'm sure in the near future we'll get a plan from the manager and so forth about, you know, the personnel and the equipment and everything that comes later, of course. But this is a good start. So at least we can start showing the public that we mean business now. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, please. Thank you. I would like to approve item number 18 to authorize the mayor to execute grant deed and issue a request for proposal for architectural and engineering services for the purpose of building a West Side Fire Station on portion of assessor's parcel number 414-120-025.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Number 19, resolution approving First Amendment to the city's fiscal year 17-18 through 21-22 capital improvement plan.
Honorable Mayor, Council Member, city will be receiving $254,900 under State Senate Bill 1. And that money is for road improvements and projects such as rehabilitation of the streets, slurry seal, reconstruction of the streets. We did include that in our capital improvement program, but it was included under gas tax. Department of Transportation is requiring us to break that out and have a separate line item for that funding. So we've done that. In our slurry seal project, we've broken that out under RMRA, and it shows that's $254,900. That's shown on the last page of your staff report. This is just to comply with that requirement so we can receive that funding. So staff is recommending approval of the resolution amending the city's 5-year CIP 2017, 2018, 20, I'm sorry, there's a error in there, 2021 to 2022. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So we're not, at this point, changing the CIP, we're just putting this as a separate line item so we can submit it for the SB1?
That is correct. The amount of the total slurry seal project is the same. It's $1 million. We just had included this amount in the gas tax.
Okay.
So we're just breaking it out and showing it as a separate line item.
Okay, are there any questions for staff?
And everything else is the same, right?
Everything else is the same.
And do we have anyone wanting to speak on this one?
No speakers.
Okay. If there's no other questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, Mayor, we do have to hold a public hearing with this, though. We have to
Oh.
open and close it. even though
Okay,
there's no
so let's
speakers.
open the public hearing at 8:50. And we'll close it at 8:50.
Actually, Mayor, I did have a quick question for the manager on this.
Okay.
How does the ad hoc committee fit in on these projects now?
Well, what the ad hoc committee will do is they will initially do a brainstorming process to identify additional needs and things that are out there. We'll work through a process with them to create a prioritization, and then we'll match that up to the capital plans that we already have, and we'll merge that together. So you'll really ultimately have a blend between the citizen input and then the other technical CIP documents that we need. So it'll bring them together.
So they're not really adding anything else to the list. That wouldn't really adjust the budget as far as numbers.
Well, they could. They
could.
may, because what the first thing we want to do, we want to start the process, and we don't want to bias them, or we don't want to influence the citizens at the beginning of the process. So not that we want to influence them at the end, but we want them to be able to come to it with as fresh a mind as possible. And then from there, get that input, match that against what we've already got scheduled, and then come to you with really kind of a finalized project list. So the final recommendations will need to include this facility in it. And so we'll be presenting, once we get and collect as much of the brainstorm information as we can, we'll be presenting back to them how that dovetails into some of the things we're already doing. Because I imagine we're going to hear about quality of life issues, public safety issues, transportation issues, park issues. So all those things are going to probably be out there, and I think part of the art of that for us is to synthesize that down to some of the other projects and programs that we currently have going. But I suspect that this is probably one of those items that we'll be hearing about as a priority as we go through our project.
And when's the deadline for that committee again?
We were looking to have initial applications in October 6th, so that'd be this Friday, and then get a chance to go through those and talk to people next week and try to create our final committee.
Is it looking good? Having a pretty good?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
we've
good.
got a pretty good result. So you stole my thunder from my manager.
Oh, well, sorry.
So I'll throw the joke in anyway later.
Or you can put the score from the team or something in there. I don't know. Okay.
Oh,
That's
I wasn't going to talk about that, but I will later.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So I'll move to approve the resolution, First Amendment of the city's fiscal year 17-18 to 21-22 capital improvement plan.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. And
We need to adopt the resolution.
I meant to, so I guess we'll do item 3 separately. So I also move to adopt the resolution of the City of Beaumont clarifying the amendment to the city's 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 18, that's 17-18 through 21-22.
I'll second that motion.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. You in a hurry?
No, not me.
Okay. Number 20, approve plans and specifications for State Route 60 Potrero Boulevard interchange, project phase 1 and 1A, and authorize the Department of Public Works to advertise for bids. Before we start, do we have any comments on this one?
Number 20, yes.
Okay. We'll take the staff report first and then the comments.
Honorable Mayor, Council Member, just wanted to start off by thanking our partners in this project. This has been a big effort, not just from the city, but a lot of other agencies. First of all, Caltrans stepped up, and they provided us all the help we needed and the right staff to get this project moving forward. RCTC, they made sure the funding stayed in place. We have 13.4 million of grant funds, and we were able to secure all of that and keep them for this project. WRCOG for working with us on the TUMF credits or the road and bridge fee credits that will be used to fund the gap funding for this project. And then also the property owners, several property owners stepped up and have deposited almost $8.2 million towards funding the gap for the gap funding of this project. And then finally, the consultants that we did hire and the staff at the city that worked very hard. And it was an almost impossible timeline to meet because of the funding that was about to expire and all of the other agreements that had to be in place and other environmental documents that had to be updated and the plans that had to be updated, submitted, and get that done and get it out in time. I think it was a big effort, so I just wanted to thank everybody that helped us get this thing done. The plans and specifications for the phase 1 and the interim phase have been reviewed by Caltrans and have been approved for construction. We are requesting today that you approve them and authorize us to go out to bid on this project. And I've included a breakdown of the funding for this project. There's 13.44 million of grant funds. We do have all of those secure. In addition to that, almost 8.2 million of gap funding from the property owners has been received. RSI Communities has deposited 1.7 million. ASM Beaumont, 340,000. Denley Investment, 1.445 million. Lesson Development, 2.89 million. USEF Crossroads, 1.133 million. Wolverine had paid their fees, which were $652,644. So the total we received did not include $340,000 from Potrero Commercial. We're still working with them, trying to get that funding in. So as part of the agreement, if you recall, we did an agreement back in April of this year with the property owners. They were supposed to deposit the money by August 31st. If not, city would have refunded the funds back to them on September 30th. Prior to that date, we did receive a letter from the property owners. They're requesting us to extend the timeline until December 31st. They're also asking us to go out to bid to determine if we really need that 340 that's still outstanding. And if we do need it, we'll work, they're willing to work on a way to make sure we get that funded. We haven't been able to finalize that detail yet. But in light of that, we believe that it's prudent for the city to go ahead and go out to bid and get the bids in. We also have other costs. We have additional relocation cost. We have at next meeting, we believe we'll be awarding the contract for construction management. We have some land, environmental mitigation require us to acquire some land. We have to acquire that land. So we're putting a detailed cost estimate of all the outstanding items together, and we'll be bringing that forward to you as part of awarding of the contract. So when we do go into awarding this contract, we'll have all that information available to see what the total cost of the project is, including grants and what the gap funding is providing. The next steps is we will be going out to bid very shortly on this project. We believe we will be able to get the bids back somewhere in middle of November or late November. It'll take about a month and a half to analyze the bid, work with Caltrans, get their approval, work with property owners on the cost, and then we should be able to award the contract somewhere in January or February of next year. And then it's anywhere from 10 to 12-month process to build the project. So the anticipated completion date is December, January of December of next year or January of 2019. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Let's go to the public comments, and we may call you back up for questions. So we'll go ahead and open a public hearing or comments at 8:59.
Bruce McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Bruce McDonald. I just want to tell you, you're doing a bang-up job as council members. Everything I hear, all the items that come through, you're very thoughtful and thorough, and I think this you should be commended. I'm here to give you a scorecard. You heard the financial summary from Amber, but 4 months ago, the property owners entered into binding agreement with the city to fund $8.2 million, and that's 6 property owners. And we've accomplished great success there. To give you the big picture, there's the overall budget for the project is $21,944,000, and there's a $3 million contingency in the budget. So I don't want you to forget that. Having said that, the city's now in hand of $8.2 million of private funds and $13.44 million of secured federal grants, totaling $21,600,000. So in comparison to the budget, we're short 2%, which is $340,000 from one of the property owners. I'm like the squeaky wheel. I have pushed really hard. Owners have stepped up, and we're pretty pleased with where we stand today, and we still think we'll obtain the other $340,000. I'm here today to encourage you to approve the plans, go to bid, and also accept our letter granting you the authority to keep our money and not send it back to us. Because that's what the funding agreement says. By the 30th, you got to send it back to us. We don't want it. We want you to keep proceeding. Bidding is very wise right now because of where costs are going. So as the other comment I want to make is that a public improvement project like this, to be funded privately and publicly, is an achievement. So I think Amber and Todd and all the departments here should be applauded. It's very difficult to do. Secondly, a public infrastructure project to get ready from a design standpoint to this bid stage, Amber's done an unbelievable job. There's so much detail. Private development's tough. Public is even that much tougher. So I think a lot has been done here in the last 6 months. So the last thing I want to say is I'll be here to guide us through if the budget's short. I think the budget's ample, and the wise thing to do is get to bid now, and by the end of the year we'll all know. But I'm pleased to be part of this, and thanks so much, and I like your support.
Thank you.
I'm here for any questions you have. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No other comments.
Okay, I'll close public comments at 9:02. I had a conversation with Mr. Pardon a few days ago, and to be honest with you, when Mr. Lara made this motion back in April, I jumped on it. I thought it was an impossible task, and I jumped on it because we had spent so much on it that we needed to stop that. And my main concern with the project has always been how much money we've spent on it, and that the project was actually, in my opinion, was designed by the previous administration with the support of the previous council not to ever really be completed. That's my opinion. It was just a way to fund department heads and other people like that, the ones that are not here today. Todd mentioned to me that I think we put him in a good negotiating position because he couldn't come back and say, well, maybe I can work that deal. Maybe I can get the council to give in on that piece of it. And I mentioned to him that we were holding a hammer over your head, and he said no, it was more like an anvil. So. So I am amazed that Todd got this done, and Amir as well. But your your role in this process has been crucial to keep the land, in my opinion, from what I've heard, to keep the property owners moving forward, and I do appreciate that. Are there any other comments or questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Mr. McDonald, I echo Mayor White's comment. I know that you've done a lot of work with the other property owners. A couple things that I have questions on, and Amr, well, maybe Amr could be Mr. McDonald, is it's quite possible that the bid may be under when it comes back. The concern that I have, because we're still languishing with the 340,000, is if the bid comes in over, and instead of 340,000, now we need 600,000 in order to move forward and let the contract. Is that going to be an issue? Because I really don't want to start construction or award a contract unless we've got the money, and that's a concern that I have, because it's languishing. I mean, you've gone a lot farther than I thought you would get, but again, we're at the 10-yard line, and we're third down and 10. So that was for you. You're welcome.
That'd be the Raiders. We're the Broncos here. We're in that red zone.
Killing
and I think it's first down, but it's okay. Maybe second and 1.
So, do you think that'd be an issue, Amr or Mr. McDonald?
And Mr. McDonald touched on that about the percentage. It's less than 2% of the total project cost. We have 15% contingency built into this. So we're hoping, and one of the reasons actually we are pushing to move this forward and put this out to bid is because the timing is good. Federal funding, most of federal fundings are approved in October. People putting the projects out to bid January, February. We're ahead of them. There's also been natural disasters in the country that's going to take up labor force and materials. And before that happens, we're able to put this project out to bid and then get bids in and lock this in place. So I think the timing is good for us to get a good bid. It's very hard to say where we would land. So one of the things would be to just go out to bid, and prior to award of the contract, we have a couple of months to work with the property owners to look at the funding possibilities that are available to the city, and again, keeping in mind the task that you put in front of us is to make sure that it's not coming out of development impact fees, or it's not coming out of any other city fees, and be able to fund this project. So I think we'll work and come back with a plan to deliver this project. This is a project where I've had doubts since we started the project. At times it's moving forward or it's not moving forward, but it seems to have a life of its own. So I think it's going to happen because it's Potrero. So I think we'll be fine. Once we get the bids, once we have the total cost of the construction management, which is a substantial cost, it'll be about 1.7 million for that, or a little over that. Once we have all those costs pinned down to where they will be, I think we'll be able to come back to you and say, okay, this is the overall cost, this is a construction cost. At that point, we can figure out if we need the 340 or if we don't need it. And then you can decide to move forward or not.
Please. Yes, please.
So the funding agreement we have with the city from the private funds addresses the issue of whether the city starts construction, because if you delay starting construction, it could be for many reasons. It's your choice. But the predominant theme is you won't know if you want to start construction until you go to bid. So the funding agreement we have with you outlines that you can use our dollars to go through the mechanism to get to the start of construction. And if you still decide you don't want to start construction for any reason, say we're way short of funds, and the owners say, well, we can't come up with that kind of money, which I don't think will happen, but in that event, you only refund us back pro rata of what you've unused. So we're not using federal grants, we're using private property funds to get to that start date, that start line. And I think it's important to know that there's a mechanism in the funding agreement that allows you to terminate if you don't want to proceed, and only send us back what monies you have not used. So I think now's the time, because costs are going up for reasons that we all know, Houston, Florida, to get out to bid before the first of the year, because that's when all the big public projects go out to bid, first quarter. So we'll captivate a lot of good public infrastructure contractors now if we get out in November and evaluate the bids in December. Now, the second thing is the owners are prepared to address the shortfall if needed, but we don't want to speculate on that until we see what the number is. So we, of course, are wanting to see it go through, but we can't guesstimate, what will happen and when until we see the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Any other comments?
No.
And actually, I think the analogy is it's 43 seconds left in the fourth quarter. You're down by 4. Almer is Tom Brady, and Bruce is Gronkowski. So there you go. All the tools we need.
Except I'm older than Gronkowski.
Not much.
Is the football inflated?
I'm sorry. No, it's flat enough. Yes, sir. It's just grippy enough.
All right. So I'll move to approve the plans and specifications. Now, I will move to approve items 1, 2, and 3, recommended council actions.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. And I'll step out for item 21, the reimbursement of travel expenses.
Item 21, reimbursement of travel expenses for Mayor Lloyd White. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
I'll open the public comments at 9:09, and I will close them at 9:09. Thank you. Do I have any questions from council on item 21?
No.
Make a motion to approve the reimbursement request in the amount of $902.90.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Yes.
All right. We'll go ahead and move to council reports. I assume it passed.
Barely.
Okay.
A lot of public comment.
We only had 3 votes.
Okay, so I can go home tonight then. Okay, I'll start off with council reports, and I'd like to use part of my council report. Chief, can you come up and sort of relate to me what you just said? I think you'll say better than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was mentioning to the mayor that you'll notice that the Beaumont police officers and some of our support staff are wearing pink patches, and it's part of a Pink Patch Project. I have to say it slowly. And what it is to recognize 2 things. Obviously, October is Cancer Awareness Month, and then equally as important is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so it's something we take very serious in this community, and we address it. But also, if you see a police officer show up with pink patches, it is us. And throughout the month of October, we will be wearing them. Each employee, including myself, we paid for the patches ourselves, and we paid ourselves to have them sewn on. And so there was no cost to the public at all. It's just something that each of us stood behind and supported.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's all I have to report. We'll go with Mr. Lara.
Yeah, just really quickly, I just want to remind folks that Beaumont Cherry Valley Park and Recreation District will have their annual pumpkin carve on Saturday, October 28th at noon. That's all I have.
Mr. Martinez.
So I attended the RCA meeting on October 2nd. We passed a resolution establishing the wildlife refuge within the RCA-owned portions of the eastern plan area. Our species of the month was a tree, Engelmann oak tree. Learned all about it. I met with the Sundance HOA on September 28th to introduce myself and field some general questions. It went very well, and they commented very positively on Mr. Parton's visit a few days before that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
I attended the AYSO event that they have every year where they, the teams have homemade banners and machine-made banners and then T-shirts. And there's an award for first place, second place, and third place in each category. It's fun to see the kids and their banners and how much fun they have, and especially the homemade ones are particularly entertaining and always fun to see. It was also good to see the field full of activity, and I got a chance to talk with some of the people about what they feel the AYSO needs for a little bit more support and integration from the city and the community. So that was, I enjoyed that very much. It was a lot of fun. And then I went to Riverside County today to a meeting of the Board of Supervisors where the San Gorgonio Crossing, which locally is referred to often as the Gateway Project for the warehouse on Cherry Valley Boulevard, was on the agenda today as item 19.1, and it was continued to the 17th. So there was a huge community outpouring. It absolutely filled the supervisors' chambers, and it will be continued to the 17th. And I have a question for the mayor. Isn't there a comedy night coming up? Do you know the date of that?
Yes, thank you.
Is that enough of a prompt for you?
Thank you.
Tuesday the 17th?
The 17th is the Riverside
night?
County Supervisors continuation, but I'm asking the mayor about a fun night.
Thank you. I sit on a Western Riverside Council or County Law Enforcement Appreciation Committee, and we put on a dinner. I think you guys both attended, and you were there the year before, I believe, where we honor police officers from all over Western Riverside County, not just PD, but CHP and sheriff. And we're having a comedy night at Ramona's in Riverside on October 19th. And that's a Thursday night. And it should be a lot of fun. I think I've sold all my tickets.
You performing?
No, I'm not performing. And Todd has said he would be there, but he's not performing either. So
it won't be funny.
So anyways, if any of you'd like to get more tickets, it's $25 a person, and there's a 2-drink minimum. And I've been told the comics will be about PG-13, maybe a soft R. I mean, it'll be mostly cops in the room, so I'm sure they've got to do something to keep them laughing. So anyways, it'll be a good event, and it's our first actual fundraiser. We usually put on the dinner through selling tables and sponsorships, so it's our first attempt at a fundraiser.
But they'll continue the dinner too, right? The dinner.
Absolutely. This is the fundraiser for the dinner.
For the dinner. Oh.
Yeah, there's another fundraiser we have planned that's a shoot. You guys probably know more about what a shoot is than I do, but it's going to be an all-day shoot that I think is going to be in the next upcoming months, and it's going to be out at the range in Paris. Is there a range in Paris? Okay. Okay, and they suggested that someone like me who haven't ever picked up a gun or other than a BB gun not participate, that it's for the professionals. So no, we have and actually we talked about doing the comedy night at Tuckwet, and I thought it was better, more centrally located, and they wanted to start with a smaller venue first, so it's likely that we will do another one before the dinner, and hopefully we'll do it out here in the pass. So that's my goal. So, all right.
I did want to mention that the mayor was at the Riverside County Board of Supervisor meeting also today.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you.
And I appreciate that support.
All right, so we'll move on to the city treasurer's report.
Okay, I have a Finance and Audit Committee report from October 2nd, yesterday. I try to talk loud, honestly, I do. The committee chair reported that member John Hallowell has resigned due to a relocation out of state. And an alternate member will be named at our next meeting. I was thinking it was moved, but Donna reminded me that it was not, or advised me. So we're going to take care of that at the next meeting. The State Controller's Office report checklist update. The city fixed assets and inventory. Milana said the full report should be available in October, this month. And the detailed policy and procedures. The department's goal is to have the policy and procedures manual completed by December for review in January. And then she said the general bank account has been reconciled as of September 13. These were things that were still on the checklist. The finance department policies and procedures manual draft 2. Milana presented the second draft of the overall basic financial department policies by category as updated to include revisions from the September Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Once the manual is completed and reviewed, we will talk about what other functions might need to have detailed procedures added. Milana presented a capital asset policy, the first draft, and she reported that the project costing module of the financial software is being utilized to account for the city's fixed assets. And in general, all capital assets with an original cost of $5,000 or more, depending on the useful life of the asset, will be subject to accounting and reporting. Certain capital assets, such as a police vehicle, will be capitalized, as well as all of the add-ons and components that are needed to put the asset into service. Milana said the smaller purchases, such as computers, will be tracked by finance. The city will perform an annual physical inventory of movable capital assets. And then it was suggested by a member that the city might want to consider doing an inventory of land and buildings every 5 years in case something had changed or had not been dealt with by finance. Milana presented the July 2017 financial reports again in a different format that had been suggested. And the committee discussed the detailed reports presented and agreed to take another look at all of the past and present reports that have been presented by the finance department in order to make a decision at our next meeting on which ones we would like to see on a monthly and quarterly basis. Since the treasurer's report from the accounting module is not working properly, Milana created a report by taking the data into Excel, which shows all of the cash balances by fund, excluding trustee accounts. The report was very well received by the committee. I think everyone liked that report. One of the members asked for an explanation of the purpose for each fund account, so Milana is going to bring that information back at our next meeting. Future agenda items, review July financial reports and decide on monthly, quarterly reports. Finance Department Policy and Procedures update, an update on Wilmington Trust account, and the fiscal year 15-16 citywide draft audit report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the treasurer? So we'll move on to the city clerk report.
Nothing to report.
And Mr. Pinckney, the city attorney report.
Yes, just briefly, in your packet, I believe it's item 22 2, last item, you have a report lists the status of litigation to which the city is a party. And that lists, there are 4 new cases that are listed, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then, of course, on the item B1, the lawsuit by the city of Beaumont versus Aklupi, the council, and we reported at a closed session, council voted to move forward with staying the civil action until completion of the criminal case or further order of the court. So, and we provided a report like this last month as well.
Okay, and item 6 was a cross complaint, right?
Item 6 is actually Urban Logic sued the city of Beaumont.
Okay.
And so they initiated the litigation. In response to that lawsuit, the city did file a cross complaint.
Okay, so that's sort of incorporated into item 6 then, correct?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
Any questions for Mr. Pinckney? All right, thank you. And we'll move on to the city manager's report. No football references in the entire report. Can you do it?
Ooh, I don't know. Baseball playoffs started tonight, so we can work Yankees in there. So
okay.
Yes, can't we? I think a couple of the WEAC fundraiser updates that the mayor didn't touch on. I think the shoot is a BYOP, isn't it? Bring Your Own Peace.
It is, actually.
Yeah,
yes,
and
it is.
There was a plan to do a bonfire fundraiser, which was canceled because they only wanted to burn the Engelman oak lumber that was out there. So,
he's quick on the fly. So,
tell you what. Sorry, Chief. Sorry about that.
Should we be charging $25 at a 2-drink minimum tonight?
Okay, one of the things that we'll be kicking off, and there's been a press release that's gone out, is we're looking to do a groundbreaking for the Xenia construction project. So that'll happen, I can't remember the date. Yeah, Thursday, thank you. That's a really, really big day for us, but you know, as with projects like that are significant, a lot of times there are inconveniences that happen, so it'll affect traffic flow while we're under construction. One of the more important things, and it's listed specifically on the agenda, is a temporary bus stop. We have a bus stop there on Xenia by Food for Less. It is a stop that's utilized by both Banning and Beaumont, and so we've been coordinating back with Banning on that process. So we are going to be temporarily relocating that stop to Highland Springs near Burger King. So we'll be putting some word out, and there'll be some alternative routing that happens as a result of that. So again, that's, I think, a good sign. We're making progress. There's things that are happening. So that is something to take care of it. And we want to make sure that there's not going to be an interruption in service for people. One of the things I think that's important is this council has worked extremely hard to get through some extremely tough times, things that are unparalleled, you know, in the milieu of any cities, much less cities, small towns like this one. And John Pinckney, this man has been very critical to what the city has accomplished. He's come under some very unfair fire. It's unwarranted. And in my opinion, the basis of that is loosely based in fact. And I just think it's important for people to understand that Mr. Pinckney is a critical element that help our community bring in the right resources, make good decisions to move forward. And so I just want to just state that and let John know that that's important, and that this community really has progressed and directly as a result of the things that he's helped us work through. And I'll tell you, in the time that I've been here, almost a year now, I found Mr. Pinckney to be very honest, very open, and you're not going to find anybody in any walk of life that has as much integrity. So just think it's important to say. And one thing I want to clarify too, because there was an implication that ORC was involved in Potrero and in WRCOG. They were not. John Knox and Mark Levinson represented us with regard to the WRCOG litigation and settlement, And they were brought in because they are some of the top firms in the country when it comes to bankruptcy. And they were a critical part of our negotiating team to come to a resolution with the WRCOG issues that were out there. So it was alluded to tonight, and they were being brought into an entirely different context that was, again, inappropriate and was false, completely false. So I think that's critical from tonight's discussion. So that concludes my comments.
Thank you. We'll move on to future agenda items. Any suggestions? No? All right, we'll adjourn the meeting at 9:29.